Hi, and welcome everyone to the Creative Cast. My name is Lucas Holman, and today we have a special guest on the show, Martin Rybacki, who is an artist and painter, and I would love to talk with you about your whole movement right now. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Lucas.
I'd like to start with getting to know you a little bit better, and I feel like you're the right person to ask you this. Who are you?
Oh, who am I? Well, my name is Martin, as you said, and I don't know who I am. I would say I can tell you where I come from and what I do.
Please.
Go
ahead.
Well, I was born in socialist Poland in the 80s, in a small village surrounded by a big family, by trees, forests, lakes. We didn't have a lot, but we didn't need a lot. Then my parents left it all out of economic fear. And, well, in retrospect, this might not have been the best decision. And also maybe not the most sufficient reason to do it.
How come?
Well, I would say that leaving a big family which grounds you is a big risk. And
Sure.
I think that over the years we discovered that it takes a toll on you. So we moved to Germany when I was 8, directly into the city, away from the village that I was used to, surrounded by nature, into a city surrounded by concrete. And
Complete change.
Yeah. So we moved to Wuppertal, to the city of Wuppertal, where I lived until now, actually, with minor breaks here and there. I was 1 year studying in Krakow. I went back to Poland, studied at the art academy, but generally I stayed here. That's my origin, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I would describe myself as kind of between cultures, unrooted.
Oh, really? Unrooted? Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. For example, all my best friends share this kind of background. So maybe the connection between us originates from this lack of grounding. Yeah.
Based on the fact that you moved away from where you were born so early, right? At the age of 8.
Exactly. Yeah. Others moved away from their homeland a little bit later, some a little earlier, but we still shared something and kind of connected through that. Kind of like aliens, you know.
No, yeah, but I totally get what you're saying right now.
And maybe that's why I was my love, or I don't know if it's love, but
Passion?
Not passion, my predisposition for art.
Yeah.
Maybe was accelerated through that, because I think psychologists say that artistic achievement is based in trauma. It's a strong word, right? But,
yeah, it is.
But there's something to it, yeah. You have to compensate for a lack of something, I guess. Yeah. So maybe, I think it's a cliche when someone says, I don't know who I am, right?
But that's why I formulated the question in that way.
I mean, of course I know who I am, but it's such a straightforward question at the beginning. So yeah, that's where I come from. And well, what I do, I always drew as a kid, like most of us, right? But I kind of had a strange disposition for it.
Yeah.
I stick to it. I was kind of good for a kid. I compared myself, or grown-ups compared my stuff to other kids' stuff and said, oh, it's okay. But I never got praised, this cliche of being praised by your grandmother and blah, blah, blah. I never had that, so I was lucky to have avoided that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, good old grandma that just loves whatever you do. You mean that?
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly. Yeah. So when I got older, drawings kind of slowed down.
Yeah.
And when I got into, it slowed down when I got into making rap music.
Oof, this is
In my teens.
I love
Yeah.
this already.
That's where I met my best friends, who are my best friends still today. And we kind of developed this. Well, no, we didn't develop, but I developed a love for rap music. I can't explain you why. And I met them, and they already had their love for rap music. My best friend, with whom I first started to make rap music, and then another very good friend came and joined us, and we were kind of we formed a small, funny little rap group in school. And we wrote lyrics about being super masculine, and on the other side, on the one hand we were super masculine, on the other hand we were super insecure. Right? It was so funny. It's like bipolar, you know. And but that was a lot of fun. We kind of expressed ourselves. We had a form of escapism, right? And at that age, it's everybody has some form of escapism, and
Which is quite healthy.
absolutely, yeah. And we recorded, we performed at small and a little bigger concerts. I made the beats. Yeah, I made the beats on a laptop. Without even having a clue about making music. I didn't know how to play any instruments, but that was kind of fun. It's like, what do you say, basteln, you know?
Yeah.
Just intuitively fitting things together, right?
Yeah, just playing around.
Yeah. So that was a lot of fun. I still do it today. Every now and then, it's fun, and then.
So would you consider that as a hobby of yours?
Yeah, I could. Yeah.
Okay.
Something to do on the side, exactly. Yeah, but then we all started studying and left rap music. Yeah,
Okay.
that's yeah. And
But you kept in the art.
Yeah. After a phase of disorientation, I would say, like searching for the right thing to study and stuff like that. You told me that you studied physics,
yes,
for a couple of years. I tried to study economics.
Ooh.
Yeah, before I finally listened to my instinct and applied for communication design, and then I got in, and I tried the whole shebang with making posters and flyers and everything, learning about marketing and perception and psychology behind creating things and behind the visual world and stuff like that. But then I met my mentor.
You have a mentor?
Well, I had one, let's say. I studied under a very famous German children book illustrator. And he was a phenomenal draftsman. And that just fascinated me. It drew me right in. I was sold. And funnily enough, he ignited in me a flame of love for art, not for design, right? For art, for classical art. And he showed me books and images of artists and painters I never even heard of, right? But when you are familiar with art, those are the greats, you know. So I was really uninformed at that time, but my love grew, and maybe you can call it irony. At the end, when I got my diploma in graphic design, I knew that I didn't want to work in the field in which I made my diploma in, you know. So but I still worked a little bit as a freelancer in that field. But I knew I wanted to pursue art, like painting and stuff like that. So I went here and there to different academies and started making art on my own. I taught myself painting and and started doing exhibitions. I was lucky that way because it's not easy to get into galleries and do exhibitions. I was selling a little bit of art here and there.
Online or?
No, actually
Physical?
through exhibitions and
Nice.
through knowing people. Yeah, and then I kind of stumbled into teaching art. Yeah, and that's what I do until now.
Currently.
Until today. Yeah, currently.
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt you, but I'm interested in the name of your mentor. I didn't catch that.
Are you tempting me to drop names? Name dropping. Yeah.
Yes.
Wolf Erlbruch.
Okay, nice.
Yeah,
I don't know him, but there might be some people out there that do.
Most people don't recognize his name, but most people know his most famous children's book. It's the I only know the German title.
Say it in German.
Der Maulwurf, der wissen wollte, wer ihm auf den Kopf gemacht hat. So the mole who wanted to know who did a on his head. It's very famous.
I actually don't know it, but it might be very famous in if you grow up in Germany, I guess.
Yeah, it's a classic. Yeah.
All right.
Also worldwide. He became a millionaire.
Oh, wow.
I guess, because of this book. Yeah.
Okay. I can tell you right now in Spain, it's not that well known.
I think the most famous children's books are by Sandak, right? Where the Wild Things Are and stuff like that.
Okay.
These are iconic children's books. Okay. Yeah. So that's...
I heard more cassettes.
In Poland there is the Academy of Mr. Kleks, Akademia Pana Kleksa. That's the most famous.
For Academy for?
No, it's the... I think it's the Academy for kind of everything magical.
Everything magical?
Yeah.
What?
It was a kind of a professor who could... I don't remember really, but it was very mystical, magical, where kids were surprised all the time, like
he could way too much fun.
Yeah, he could pull an elephant over a head and stuff like this. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's the Slavic kind of fairy tale style. You know, it's a little bit more darker and not so Disney-like, because we in the West are very Disney-ized, I would say. Disney stole our eyes. Yeah.
They stole our eyes?
They stole our eyes, exactly.
Why
like
is
the
that?
Impressionists. When you, for example, we are very influenced by the Impressionists. So when we look at a landscape, we don't see the landscape, we see an Impressionist painting.
The moment of its being captured.
No, just when you just look at those, the way we are, we have a library of images in our head, right? And we when we look at things, we categorize visually also, and we connect that what's in our library to the visual information in order to understand it quicker and better.
Sure.
I'm messing this.
Process it.
Yeah, I'm messing this totally up, but psychologists can say that way better than I do. But the more you view the world through images, the more you project those images onto the world. So you actually don't see freshly. You know what I mean?
Sure. It's like recycling.
Yeah.
In a way. I've seen this before. This is known to me.
Yeah, or you are not able to discover something new in it, other details and stuff like that, because you already saved it as in a special category in your head.
Okay.
And so that's also the difference between cultures. You know, every culture has its own library, I would say.
Yeah, sure.
So and we in the West are extremely influenced by ads, by Disney, very, very much by Disney. And that influences the way we view and judge things visually. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, but I really like that. I mean, for creative minds like us that are into art and paint and make pictures, that is quite valuable in understanding for us as we process everything mainly visually. Right. Let's get back to your current teaching project. How is that going?
It's going quite well. I have private students in my atelier, in my studio. And before that, I was teaching in museums and in community colleges. I didn't like the fact that I was dependent on an institution, so I changed that. And it's way better. The students like it way more inspiration when you're surrounded by paintings and books and stuff like that. And the atmosphere is just different. It's an atmosphere of creative work, right? And in museum, it's okay, but at a community college, it was kind of like an office room.
Sure.
And it's really cold and not very inspiring. So yeah, it's good. I can teach much better, way more personally, I'm very happy with that. And from what I've heard so far, I think my students are happy as well.
Okay, nice. What is it exactly that you teach?
I teach fundamentals. That means that I teach stuff that is not taught anymore at academies and universities. Yeah, you can make that face. Exactly. That's surprising, right?
Depends on what it is.
Anatomy, perspective, form, light and shadow.
And they do not?
They do not know. Since the 60s or before that, there was we're now getting into art history and philosophy a little bit. But yeah, there is one very funny thing when you look into art history. Around the change of the century, around 1900, a little bit before that, there were two competing styles, you could say. On the one hand, there was William Bouguereau and his style. And on the other hand, on the other side, there were people like Picasso. So the modernists. Bouguereau was the classicist, and the others were the modernists. And when you look up Bouguereau, then you will see that he was painting incredibly realistically and extremely beautifully. Beautifully in a classical sense, right? So the figures looked like Greek gods, but very aesthetically pleasing, idealized. And we all know Picasso, right? So it was the complete opposite of that. And the modernists won. And by winning, they changed the mentality in the education, in the art education, in the academies and the universities. And what was before regarded as important wasn't anymore. So the teaching of technique, of realism, of depicting what you see in a elaborate way, was regarded as old-fashioned. And with the rise of psychoanalysis, Freud, etc., the unconscious was discovered, and the surrealists, like Dali, is the usual suspect,
Yes.
they came up, and they were still grounded in classical craft, but they opened up they opened up art in general for heavy experimentation. And when you open something up for heavy experimentation, and you risk losing your footing, and the footing was always accurate depiction of reality.
Yeah.
So, well, not always. There is one little thing that hasn't been footed in depicting reality as we know it today. But that's another topic. So the fundamentals were lost gradually. So today you have, like, for example, I don't want to. Today you have the phenomenon of do what you want. And because it's subjective and personal and individual, it can't be judged. So everything is art, or can be art. And by saying everything can be art, logically follows that nothing will be. But let's stop here.
Yeah, no, but what I take from that is all these different artists like Picasso and Dali have made a great impact on how art is taught nowadays.
Absolutely, yes.
Which I experienced myself when I studied photography. Like, it depends obviously on the teacher you have. And I feel like the classical subjects that you get taught are still history and are all pretty much set. But if you there are more and more teachers nowadays that give you more freedom in a sense of how your work looks like and how your assignments look like.
But in photography, I would say there is one crucial difference.
Compared to painting?
Compared to painting, exactly, because you do not create the image with your hands.
It's very different.
Yeah. So this means that you are still dealing with in quotes, depicting the visual world. You can make experiments with light and stuff like that, but when you make a quote unquote normal photo, that thing that varies is the subject matter, but you're still dealing with light and objects that are in the world. But when you draw or paint, you are dependent on your skills to depict those things.
Yeah.
So there you have the subject matter that can be influenced by philosophy, let's say, and the way to depict things can also be influenced by philosophy, and both things happened in drawing and painting.
I mean, we got a great movement called pictorialism that shaped both very greatly, well, especially photography. I have not studied painting history that much, but I know photography had, in the early 20th century, quite a movement in there. And also, when you study the history of photography, is that you learn that sort of photography, in a way, liberated the world of painting, in a sense of that painting didn't need to depict reality anymore. Kind of, we took that from them, as pictures inherently in the beginning were, a representation of reality in a sense. So painting got more free, and they didn't have the need of painting people anymore or places, but they could go more abstract, as they stopped being the only art that were able to do that. Now photography could. So we kind of took all that work from them. They didn't have to do that anymore.
I see what you mean. I would put in some nuances into that. So we of course have sculpture as well, carving and
Yes.
everything. So I know what you mean. This is the way it is taught how things went.
Mm-hmm.
Now we get a little bit deeper into the whole thing. So there are two things I would add to that, or maybe that I would counter. First of all, the realistic depiction of reality. That's quote unquote realistic, or the naturalistic. It is actually not the way we see. We do not see the way the camera sees. So artists like, for example, David Hockney dealt with it for years. It's very, very interesting because he was doing paintings and photography, and his oeuvre is a manifestation of this. Not really conflict, but this what would you say, exploration of how we see, and this mythology of the camera being the only thing to depict the reality accurately, which it doesn't, because our eyes do not function the way the camera does. Yeah. But we are so used to seeing through the lens. That's what I also that's also the thing that I would add to Disney stealing our eyes, impressionists influencing the way we see. The camera did it as well. So in retrospect, we think that the camera depicts reality as it really is. So that's one thing.
Yeah.
The second thing is the camera liberated. I don't know if it liberated. It just made the depiction of one focus. How can you say that? Fluchtpunkt. Vanishing point. One.
Oh, you mean where the lines head?
Yeah, the camera, because the paintings were with the invention or discovery of one vanishing point perspective by Brunelleschi in the 15th, 16th century. This was the basis for the possibility of even inventing a camera. The perspective, single vanishing point perspective. And to translate this whole stuff in your head in English.
It's called punto de fuga in Spanish.
Okay, that's way easier.
Yeah.
So single vanishing point perspective was a paradigm shift in painting, Renaissance and stuff like that, right? We all know that. Before that, there was no vanishing point, and people didn't care.
More chaos.
No, not chaos. Another way of seeing and thinking about the world. They didn't need it. It didn't bother them. That doesn't mean that they didn't know about the vanishing point. They knew. But it wasn't important for their worldview.
Okay.
Because single vanishing point perspective really influences thinking.
Yeah.
Right? It's a single point. It's a single aim. It's
where everything is headed towards.
Exactly. before that, it was more holistic, right? So there were, it's too complicated for me with my feeble brain to to describe. But let me get back to the camera thing. And so this means that the camera actually didn't liberate. That's not what I would say, no? Or it's not how I would say it. The camera just perfected what was already there.
That's another way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's made the process quicker.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Simpler and more efficient in a way.
So one could argue that all those realists and naturalists and photorealists and hyperrealists, that they were already breaking with the old worldview, right? So the camera was just a addition, a technical innovation, but it didn't actually change any paradigm, I would say. So you are right. When the camera emerged, all those people who were actually already pre-imitating the camera, they
through painting.
They just, okay, why should I? Right?
They changed.
Yeah.
They either changed the photography or they changed what they painted.
Yeah. So people like Hockney went back and thought, wait, if we say that the camera depicts reality most accurately, well, let me play with that. Let me question that. And he discovered, no, it doesn't. It's a great tool for making pictures. It's a way of, it's the camera freezes time, or you could even say it kills time, right? And that's not how we see, how we experience. That's not how we experience the world and life in general. So it's just one facet of visual world, of visual experience. And he played with that and made very interesting and great discoveries. Yeah.
Okay. I like the little road we took through history of art. Yeah.
Sweaty mother.
But I liked how we compared and talked about both crafts a bit here.
But may I ask you something?
Yeah, sure, go for it.
What do you think, as a photographer, about the democratization of photo technique? Everyone has a camera. What happens to images? What happens to photography?
It kind of splits your the way you see it. I mean, in a sense, it's good as more people have access to it, and it's not like a privileged craft that only a few can do that have maybe the economical resources to do it. And so more people can experience it and find in photography what so many have found before, which is this fulfilling craft that I found myself.
Okay, next question.
No, but I'm not done with that yet.
Okay.
It's not all good, right? In the sense, so that's the good part of it that I say, in the sense of, everyone has a smartphone and calls themselves a photographer. And that leads into the part that is so misunderstood nowadays, from my point of view, at least, which is the sort of the definition of what is a photographer. Sure, if it is for you someone that just makes pictures here and there, yeah, okay, we're all photographers, but that's not necessarily my definition of it. I would rather say it's someone that dedicates his life to it, someone that needs to do or to perform photography, because it's something you're thinking of 24/7. When I doesn't matter what I'm doing, I'm always seeing the world in pictures. My eyes are a camera all the time. So I see plays of light and shape and my sense of beauty everywhere I go. So it's a mindset, photography. And apart from you dedicating your time to it, your life to it, and doing projects, expressing your way of seeing the world, it's also not only taking the pictures, but also treating them. It's everything, like having a camera, going out there or in somewhere, doing maybe a setup. Not only it's taking the picture and having it in your memory card nowadays with digital cameras, but it's also all the process that goes after that, that is in a way almost as important as taking the picture yourself.
That's interesting because you used a word, craft. And I immediately wanted to ask you, okay, when people take photos with their cell phone, where is the craft?
Well, the craft has many different steps. And actually being conscious enough to seeing something you find appealing or interesting enough to capture it, and then going into making the action of taking the picture and choosing what's in the picture and what's not, the framing. Is it, is it horizontal or vertical? Do I want to do it square or which proportion do I want? Going all through that in a conscious or unconscious way, that's already one step in that craft. So even someone that does a picture with their phone, that doesn't make it less valuable. For me, it's equally valuable as someone that does the same picture with a big format analog camera.
But can one argue that analog photography does include more craft in the sense that you have more actual technical steps, like selecting the paper and how do you call it?
Shutter speed, aperture.
Exactly, yeah, and also all those actual technical steps with Entwicklung and so development, developing this whole stuff and in the dark room things,
printing.
Exactly, yeah. When you remember daguerreotypie, right? It was kind of a chemical stuff actually, right? So yeah. That's what I remembered when you said the word craft, and I compared it to the extremely technological way of extremely technological side of digital photography. So yeah.
Sure, I mean, definitely you can argue that analog photography or film, how it's called, requires, in a sense, more work. And sometimes it does require more, maybe technical knowledge. It requires more from you, not only with the camera but also in the darkroom. But that not necessarily because you put more work into understanding how a piece of device works or how the process works, makes it inherently better than a different project that is done with a cell phone. And I wouldn't say that gap of work is actually that big. Like nowadays, we're just used to using cell phones and to using digital cameras, but all these devices do have an inherent learning curve as well to them. And some of the modern devices are very complicated as well. So we're just used to them. So it doesn't seem like that much of work. Back in the days, people were used to film and they knew most of these steps already, like we're used to digital today. So it just appears to us that it's just so much more work doing analog today.
I would argue that it's not about more work, it's about what kind of work. So I think you already realized that I'm kind of a traditionalist.
Mm-hmm. In a way.
So that
You
also
like to think about stuff.
and so this also influences my view on art, or the definition of art. So for me, it's more like art is way more craft than we imagine it today. So I would argue that that without a certain, when it comes to art that depict or that create, I'm not talking about writing or writing poems and stuff like that, more like the visual arts. Yeah, that's the word. The visual arts, that they require actual craft and skill, in a sense, in a traditional old school sense, that the really hands-on things that you have to do, working with material and combining it and using it in a structured way and stuff like that. I know it's also digital things, right? The same, but really handling material does something with us. It informs us, and I think the more traditional way of making art is richer. Maybe it doesn't culminate in a better image, right? But I try not to think of art as, now let me get back. I think that the result is not everything. What's also important is what happens with you while you do it, and
Process.
exactly. So we know that when you do something where all senses are involved, the experience is more holistic. You learn more and you gain more as a being.
Yes.
So I view art in the same manner. And so, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
so let me add one little thing.
Please.
We have the phenomena of digital painting, right? Photoshop and stuff like that. And this technique produces great results. But I would argue that it's only, first of all, it's just a technique. It's a substitute for traditional media. And those people who get the best results, I would say, in my opinion, are those who are grounded in the traditional. So a photographer who knows all those traditional analog techniques, even maybe tried his own daguerreotypie, right? I think maybe a layman or we even wouldn't see any difference in the result between him and someone who solely takes photos digitally.
Sure.
But maybe there is. I don't know. You know what I mean? I think it's more, yeah, like I say, it's more nourishing, and I think there is a different, maybe even better quality. No, I say there is a higher quality to those end results. Yeah.
No, I agree with you that the more experience you have with the process itself, the more you experiment with that, the better your decisions will be in the modern substitutes that emerge, because things like Photoshop and Lightroom and Illustrator, all those are programs that in a way imitate real life techniques, like a brush or I don't know,
Yeah.
all these things, or burning and that's called like when you do the shadows and the highlights and you shape the light. It's called burning and dodging, and burning. Anyway, it's most of the tools in those software programs are based on real life tools you had in the laboratory or in the darkroom or in an atelier in a studio. So it definitely makes you a smarter person that makes more wise decisions.
And this topic interests me because I hear very often new students complaining about the lack of hand-on technique, that they are missing something, right? It's like all this freedom is actually suffocating us, right?
Yeah, in a way.
Yeah, it's called freedom, but it's actually a giant dark ocean, right? You are plunged into it and are told, okay, now swim, you are free.
It's
I know it's an extreme example, but,
No, but-
some people feel that way, yeah.
it makes the art more or less human in a way, right? It feels less real and more digital,
Yes.
right? More like a machine thing.
I feel like I talked for half an hour and you just put everything in one sentence.
But I needed to
Yeah.
listen to you this time to maybe get to that point.
Yeah. So maybe there is a connection to your next question that you gave me beforehand.
Yeah.
About
okay.
creativity.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's I just I thought about it and I think I don't know what creativity means for me because this question is not important to me. I think the word creativity is a modern buzzword that is used to inflate the importance of modern and postmodern art and the artist, and to artificially mystify what people actually do.
Could you elaborate that?
Yes, of course.
Please.
I will try.
You were like, no.
I will try. Yeah. So, look, when I say that what you do as a photographer is just craft, how do you feel? Not very pleasant. I
Yeah,
would
it
say.
seems limiting.
Yeah. So, but why?
As you, when you are a photographer, you tend to think of it as an art as well, not only as a craft.
Okay, but when I say the same thing to filmmakers, painters, people who do graphics and sculptors, they will, almost all of them will have the same feeling. And I ask myself, why?
Sure.
Why is it that craft, that would mean that craft is degraded?
Less than art.
Yeah, exactly. But why? It's actually a fundamental part of it, and maybe the main part of it, because without it, you're super free and actually don't really know what you're doing. So I would rather argue for craft, and creativity is almost kind of a normal, what would you say, self-evident part of it. It's an inherent part of the process. So I think it's part of our modern worldview to degrade craft and to elevate that which cannot be taught. It sounds kind of elitist, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, but I think people tend to, when they hear the word craft, they tend to understand it as a physical work.
But it is, yes.
And art kind of complements that word, giving it the significance of not necessarily the physical act of doing it, but the
Inspirational aspect of it too.
yeah, or the human part we put in it, or the significance, what we want to have it, what's the meaning of what we're doing.
Meaning is a very important word, yes.
Right? You can create a chair, and that's a craft. You created that, but without you actually putting some idea behind it or some value to it, it might not be an art. You know what I mean?
That's so good that you're saying that, because I would immediately counter it. You made a
Please.
wonderful example. So the traditional definition of art was, you can read Heidegger for that, and Aristotle and stuff like that. So the ancient traditional definition of art was merely putting things together well.
Okay.
Right? So there is already an implication of quality.
Yeah, because what is well, right?
Exactly. So there is an aspect of functionality, putting things together well.
Mm.
And the product was embedded in a culture of participation, which means that when you do the chair, when you make the chair, the moment someone sits on it, the person then participates in the chair and qualifies it, right? It affirms its quality by sitting on it and
By being useful.
being useful, exactly. So it has a purpose.
Functional.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So art was actually almost everything. And we have remnants of that today. The art of gardening, the art of cooking, right? The art of dancing.
Yes.
But the participational aspect was very important. The artifact was not complete until someone used it. So, and the thing is that over the centuries, this aspect vanished from the arts and was transferred to design, right?
Yes.
So,
to appeal. In the sense of something is visually pleasing, not necessarily useful. As a painting, for example.
yes, it gets better or worse. What art ultimately is today, there are two things. Art is a product for consumption. You consume it intellectually, visually, as an asset. And yeah. I think there was one more point, but let's leave it at that. And the other minor part is that art, what is left in art today is still this tiny notion that art can connect you to the transcendent, to the, let's say, human, but it's more than that, just that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a search for something higher, right? But before modernity, art was all of that, but without the asset and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Without the consumption, it was more integrated. It was holistic. So artists were not considered those crazy guys, crazy people who waited for heavenly intuition, stuff like that, right? It was a craft, it was the basis, and you could perfect the art. It was embedded. So the fact that it was embedded in culture already gave you, as an artist, meaning. You had purpose.
Yeah.
You didn't need to struggle and ask yourself, what should I express?
Yes.
Right? The thing you did, there was already an expression of yourself by the mere fact that you were doing it.
Yeah.
But it also served a culture, a community, in a way that, in a positive way, right?
Yeah, sure. You had your role in society.
Exactly, yeah. And today, it's the dogma of freedom is I would say is resulting in the fact that we look down on craft a little
Really?
bit. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
That's why I think there is this distinction between high art and low art and craft and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, yeah. But I find this idea very interesting and actually also kind of healing, right? To get down from my highly intellectual artistic throne, right? That you are put on while you're studying, right? Because the only thing that you are looking at is avant-garde stuff,
Yes.
right? Paradigm shifts. Look what this person did and this. They
New
changed so
ideas.
much. Yes, exactly. Everything has to be new and big and shocking. No, not everything, but right.
Yeah. I mean,
But
we're kind of there. Right
you know
now.
what I mean, right?
Sure.
So I think it's kind of soothing and really grounding to look back at what art actually is supposed to be. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, we using or we're trying to find different meanings for what art is, and it has taken us still. We still don't really know what it is because it probably doesn't have one meaning.
I would disagree.
Yeah, you think it has
Yeah.
one meaning?
Let me say it like this. I think the fact that we are searching and kind of can't find the one meaning is because the problem lies not with art, it lies with our culture. We are fragmented. We don't have one uniting narrative, let's say, one united cultural value structure, or positive value structure, let's say. The fact that art is the way it is today reflects actually the society's cultural value structure. And today we have consumption. That's the highest value, actually. The self and consumption. So before that, there was, I don't know, the king, or actually, originally it was religion. That was the unifying narrative of a culture. And everything served this worldview. So,
Purpose.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you can ask yourself today, well, what does art serve today? Right.
Yeah. Okay. I was thinking more about the definition of art and what it truly is, and
Well, I would maybe agree with what you said in the way that art is not fixed on one thing. Because it serves the culture.
yeah,
It is malleable.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
It's fluid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I feel like
see what you
it
mean.
adapts in some way for the time and the society and the purpose it has.
Did you know what Carl Jung, the famous psychoanalyst, said about art?
Carl Jung?
Carl Jung.
I do not know what he said.
He said, art for a culture, it is what a dream is for the person. So it's under the surface. We live in a culture. We absorb things unconsciously,
Yeah.
right? And collectively, art gathers what we collectively kind of dream, right, in quotes, and brings it forth to the surface. And then we look at it and, really? That's what we are inside as a collective? Okay.
I really like that, and it does seem like make a lot of sense to me, because just art, just like dreams, help us process what we take in from the world. So I feel like that analogy makes a lot of sense.
So what would you say from your perspective as a photographer who deals with images? I think you consume a lot of images per day, right?
Yeah, we all do, but yes, sure, I do a lot.
Yeah. So what would you say for you? Does photography reflect concerning our inner space as a culture? You know, I think.
What's the purpose, maybe?
No. When you look at the photos
Yes.
that you encounter every day, what do you see as a pattern?
You mean where we're headed? Or-
Where we are, where we headed? Yeah. What would you say? What do you recognize? Maybe I'm not good enough in asking the question.
Why are you asking that?
Because I want to know what's your experience. Because I have my experience. I want to know yours. Maybe what are the big topics that people are dealing with? Maybe when you see all the Instagram photographers expressing themselves, are there commonalities for you, or is everything different? What are the big stories that they are telling unconsciously? Now I got you.
Well, that is a very difficult question. As there is a lot of variety out there, and it's not necessarily easy to find a common pattern within them. I couldn't say right now. First, one thing that popped in my mind is most of the work that I see out there shouts, in a way, a need for beauty and a need for validation. So those two things I see a lot nowadays.
How about a need for identity?
Yeah, you could put it like that as well. But an identity in a sense of how am I perceived, or in a way of finding who I really am. Both.
Both, yeah.
Yeah.
But more kind of also, well, they are connected, yeah.
They work together, but that
I th-
don't necessarily.
Because I think culturally, identity is not something that you make up. It's negotiated. It's a process of negotiation between the culture and you. You present yourself, and you get feedback, and then you modify it, right, according to the feedback, but also according to your core, right? So it's some kind of it's negotiation. Yeah.
What I find, what I've seen, not necessarily in photography or painting, but in stand-up comedy. Wait, oh shit. We actually talked about this yesterday. No, but what I do see in modern stand-up comedy is that people appreciate realness. People that present themselves to the world how they really are.
Unfiltered.
Unfiltered. And what I take from that is it's much healthier to find out who you are and then present to the world this being that you found, you know?
But how can you find it without presenting it? We are social creatures.
Yeah, it's finding out who you are, taking everyone else out of the equation.
Can you do that?
Sure. I can't tell you the secret on how to do it.
Becoming a monk in the desert, living in a cave all alone.
There's not one way to find that out. Everyone has to figure it out by themselves. But I feel like that order of first figuring out who you are, which changes as you grow older, but keeping up with who you are becoming and being conscious about that and reflecting that to the world, rather than, which is what most people do, trying to fit the society's view of you, trying to please everyone else and make that who you are. Right? You have those two options, really. Not really thinking about too much about your personal thoughts and behavior, but being way more influenced by what everyone else says and thinks about you.
Yeah, I get what you mean. I wouldn't view it as fatalistically, or I wouldn't put it as fatalistically as it sounded to me. I know what you mean. I absolutely agree that you shouldn't be a chameleon and a faker and just pleasing people. I was more talking about the process itself. That in order to find out who you are and who you are comfortable with being, you need to expose yourself to others.
Sure.
So yeah. So I think I totally agree. When you in this process, when you find out that you go against what you feel is right, and then corrupt yourself and present a fake persona to the world, then absolutely that's wrong. Yeah.
I'm not saying necessarily that is wrong. I'm just saying that doing the first way, the way that you find yourself and then present, it's healthier.
Yes.
I'm not necessarily want to judge and say this is better than this.
Oh, I do judge.
Sure do.
No. That's bad. No, but let me add one thing because we didn't address that, and I think it lingers in the background. Never before had people the chance to present themselves online like that. So I think the fact that we have this possibility, creates, I think, more pressure for everyone to think about themselves, to question themselves, and to think about presenting oneself.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, creating personas. Creating personas is inevitable to some certain degree, but I think it's very exaggerated today. So I think you shouldn't. Well, it's not healthy to go against your intuition in the process of finding yourself. But if you even add to it faking your online presence, right, making yourself better or whatever, right, it even adds to the unhealthy thing.
Definitely. And going back to the stand-up comedy aspect, all major stand-up comedians nowadays, the most famous ones, more appraised ones, all seem to share that aspect.
Okay, I will say something provocative. And what would you say? Behaupten. I'll make a bold statement. I would say that none of the mainstream acclaimed, by mainstream I mean internet mainstream, like Rogan, like all the others.
You include Chappelle and all these?
Yes.
Okay.
Are not unfiltered. None of them would be able to say certain things if they believed them and could get away with it.
Why?
Because there is no freedom of speech. Because culture is controlled.
Okay. So
because social media platforms are not neutral. That I leave it at that. If you want to find unfiltered people, you should it doesn't matter if you like them or not. If you really want to find unfiltered comedians, you should look for those who got banned, because they got banned for a reason. If you get banned, you said something that the system doesn't like. So they are truly unfiltered.
Do you believe this as a principle, or you're aware of examples like this can be said? Or like
As a both, yeah. I don't know, but let's not get into that, because we got banned. But do you know?
you can try.
I don't. I don't know who said it, but if you want to know who controls you, find out who you cannot make fun of.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. So you kind of believe that as
And by the way, I am not a free speech absolutist. I am not. I'm just observing and making conclusions.
okay. Could you like is there something you would know, like something, for example, Joe Rogan could say that would not be accepted?
He said,
You can say it, don't. Okay. Oh, yeah, okay.
he made a statement about
Vaccine.
vaccination.
Yeah.
He
Getting vaccinated.
he made a recommendation
Mhm.
for young and fit people to
Yes.
not get it.
Okay, do not get vaccinated.
Exactly, right? He said, well, if you're healthy, why would you need it? Right?
Sure.
And you know what happens a couple of days ago? He had to backpedal. He had to
Rectify?
he had to make a public apology and take his statement back.
Really?
Yeah. It happens all the time with him since he went to Spotify. But before that, I mean, YouTube is censoring nonstop. You know, right?
That's true.
So yeah, he was the first. When he started, YouTube was actually YouTube, right? You were broadcasting yourself, and with time, the corporate machine took over, and the independent creators were shadow banned and stuff like that,
Yeah.
right? Were cancelled. So he was actually at the forefront of this individual, free thinking broadcasting, or saying what you want, right? Yeah, you could say what you want, and over the years you can see that he backpedaled on a lot of topics.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has been called out on from.
No,
Probably.
no. Corporate pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah, YouTube. YouTube has its hands in all those things.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where you're going.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what you mean with that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This happens to a lot of people.
Yeah. That's true. But I've always seen it as a fight between corporate's image and the user's statement.
Yes, image in a sense of,
You know, like a user of your platform says something that goes maybe against your
against the guidelines,
corporate's policy.
Yeah.
Right. So that's obviously a dilemma there. And
Yeah, that's a very big topic right now for maybe for a couple of years. Yeah. That's the problem with this shows the problem of private companies turning from originally platforms to publishers. right? That's the big thing in the US right now. Yeah.
Things like Netflix and
No, all everything that is supposed to be YouTube is supposed to be a platform. Platforms are supposed to be neutral, so they are bound by freedom of speech. The moment you censor, you are becoming a publisher, and there is a loophole.
because you're editing.
Yes, exactly. And there is a loophole in the US law concerning this, that although they are behaving as publishers, as editors, they still fall under the platform category. Yeah.
Okay, so the labels are something they're not.
Yes.
Pretty
yes,
much.
Yes. But that's old stuff that I'm just talking right now.
Old stuff.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
it's
yeah.
more modern than anything else. But
No, I mean it's not recent. It's going on for at least.
oh yeah, it's
10
not since yesterday.
Yes.
Sure,
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
I would love to go back to you, and get towards the end of the episode, talking about your movement right now, the struggles you have encountered, and bring out some valuable lessons for younger yours. As you said, you've started painting, and then you tried to sell your artwork through expositions. I'm not sure if you have attempted to do it online as well or not. And now you're pretty much investing your time into teaching and education.
Teaching and education is not so primary. It's 50-50, I would say.
Yes?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, so, but okay.
Let me get specific. What are concrete, good as bad, decisions you have made along the way to get you where you are?
No, I would skip that question.
Why?
It's too much. It's too much. Too many mistakes.
But they're important.
Yeah, but let me say this. Let me tie things together that I were talking about until now. I showed you that I am interested in this traditional stuff, going back, discovering the old meanings of art
Yes.
and stuff like that. That led me to question the art I was making. I didn't feel comfortable with producing something that was merely for consumption for people who have the money. So I diversified, we could say. I went back into illustration, doing very wholesome illustrations, nothing dark, nothing sexy and action-packed. It's more like for kids, for families. That's one thing that I enjoy doing, like doing children's books again.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, that was very curious. I didn't expect that. I discovered Christian Orthodox icons. Are you familiar with those?
Probably not.
Okay, so that's the art that was before the Renaissance. Today we would consider those kind of simple, strange, not really beautiful, but they were highly symbolic. This kind of art was obviously religious. It was considered sacred art. It was used in the liturgy during Mass. So it had a purpose. It was not just for looking at it. And the other purpose it had was to help the believing Christian to control his or her passions. So if you think about it, since the Renaissance, the images became more physical, more erotic even. And what does it obviously has an effect on you, right? It doesn't matter if how we judge it, right? It just has an effect on you. So the Christians, in their worldview, said, obviously, we don't want that. So we want images that make you look inwards, make you contemplate, and not make you aroused, make you happy, make you sad, right? So it was a highly spiritual way of looking at images. And the form of the images reflected that, or reflects that still. So I found it so fascinating that I tried to make my own icons, and something changed. And that's what I am exploring right now. I'm making traditional icons. I'm also making Christian illustrations. I'm just exploring the visual world of Orthodox Christian religion, and I find it absolutely fascinating. So going a little bit away of the art market, of the modern art market, and focusing more on actually meaning itself, right? Yeah.
Something that triggers you to think.
Yeah. Or think about even the meaning of life. Yeah, about God, about relate. Yeah.
As
All those
deep
things.
as you like to go.
Yeah, and that's just that's just woof. Yeah. Very, very deep and very intense, and I enjoy it. Yeah.
What has helped you get there?
Spiritual crisis, actually. Yeah. I just felt miserable doing the art that I did, making the art that I made. And I was looking here and there. Also, my personal spiritual path was included in that. And everything culminated in this point where my personal search, my personal spiritual search also influenced my art making. And it was just a very radical shift. I'm not saying that I'm not painting secular images anymore. No. I'm just, I broadened my palette.
Your field of work.
Yeah.
So you came from a place of discomfort.
Yeah, of atheism even, of nihilism.
Okay.
Really, really hardcore,
Shit.
meaningless. Yeah. So I think there is a very famous psychologist today who made people wonder about their own spiritual life. His name is JBP.
JBP.
Jordan B. Peterson.
Oh yes. I
Yeah,
know
the
him.
famous guy. Yeah. I stumbled about what would you say? I discovered him 5-6 years ago, before he was famous. And yeah, like many people, I then rediscovered religion, and I not a big fan anymore of his. He's the gateway drug, like people say. Yeah. He has his own problems and stuff like that. His own brand, and it's things he's doing are some things he's doing are good, but I after learning from him, I discovered more religious people who were who were
Killed?
no who were the real thing, let's say.
Yeah.
Because Peterson is himself not religious in that sense.
Okay,
right?
okay.
So he's not a believing Christian, right?
Yeah.
He is extremely, he's struggling with his religiosity, because he's still grounded in...
With his own beliefs.
Yeah. He's still grounded in materialism, right? In pragmatism. That's what he says himself. So, I was in that phase as well, and then I transferred into the, let's say, quote unquote, real religious sphere. Yeah.
And you're figuring out for yourself that this is maybe something that fits you better.
I know that it fits me better.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
already
but
a big accomplishment.
it's not my accomplishment. Um, um, I'm figuring out how to live with that now. So, and I'm still extremely, extremely tiny, and I try to be humble and actually not talk a lot about it because I'm at the beginning. But I know, I understand. I feel this is true.
Okay. I mean, if you try to be humble about it and not talk about it too much, I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thanks. Because it's almost all I think about. I'm reading theology books, listening to theology podcasts, and I know this is all intellectual stuff, and I am kind of an intellectual guy, but religiosity is the combination of intellect, heart, and the so-called nous. It's a term in Orthodoxy where it's kind of a faculty that combines. It's a faculty that is kind of lost in the West. It's I think they refer it to as the reason of the heart. Strange. I don't understand it myself yet.
Okay.
So, but it's very, very interesting. Yeah.
Good. Now that we that you've that we are in this, well, the change you've experienced so far, could you try to extract a handful of valuable lessons that you could give along to someone else that might be at the beginning of that journey?
You mean in art?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, first of all, I would say try to find out what you want. If you want to work more realistically, depicting reality, you will need the craft to do that. And the problem today is, like I said, that you won't find the knowledge in the institutions. The knowledge is online. All the courses, there are even free videos, free tutorials. You will have to train yourself with the help of this material. You will not find it in the academy. So you should really think about if you want to apply to university. If you do not want to work realistically or hone your craft, you can do what you want, actually. So you just pick your form of education, of your institutional education, and try to get in. And then you are actually not, well, what you will have to do then is actually not understand art, but you will have to learn how to sell yourself. And there is even literature about that. And I'm not making this up. It's actually the academies know it themselves and say it and teach students that that's how it works today. So yeah, if you want, well, yeah, that's something that you have to find out for yourself. What do you want? And then, like the famous graphic designer Milton Glaser said, then you will have to work your ass off. Butt off. Yeah, it's just, working. And when it comes to, well, one professor at the academy said, painting and doing art is well and good, but you need to spend at least 2 days of the week connecting with people, networking, writing emails to galleries, stuff like that. So part of the job is marketing yourself, selling yourself. And that's a personal thing. Most young people or most artists find this part icky, naturally, right?
Sure.
So you have to know what you're getting into, I would say. One last point I would make is maybe... that's difficult. I would say, don't be so sure that art will save you.
Because that might be what most people trying to find there.
Just because you feel uneasy, just because you feel disconnected or fragmented, let's even go so far as depressed. Don't think that art will guarantee salvation from that. Art is a field that allows you to explore your problems, but there is a high risk in that. Art today also allows you to dive very deep into nothingness, into meaninglessness, and into scandal. So I would say just be careful. Well, let's say it with let me
Rephrase.
now summarize everything. Know thyself. Oh boy. Yeah, but that's that. I would conclude with that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I really like the last one. It made me. It was a point I didn't think of as well. But I can sort of get behind. Nice. I appreciate the 3 steps you took there. Before we conclude today's episode, I would love to give you the opportunity to actually share with our listeners where they can find you and check you out and see your work.
Okay, I have a website that it's unfortunately not running yet, so you can find me on Instagram, martin.rybacki.art, and I think you will link this.
For sure.
So because my last name is not that easy to write just by hearing it. And on this Instagram page, I have in my bio links to my religious art. I have a lot of Instagram accounts with different genres of art that I do. So if you just go into my bio there, you will find the other accounts.
Great. Definitely. Everything, like especially your Instagram, will be linked up in all posts on the episode itself.
I appreciate that. Yeah. More followers, more ego, more pride. Please. Yeah.
More validation. Right?
No, that's a sin. No.
But it's hard to completely ignore it, right? It's quite an inevitable trap there.
Yeah, I think it's about what you are making this for, the purpose of it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
that makes a difference. Definitely.
If you want to beautify your way of seeing the world, that's I would say that's not a bad thing. Yeah.
Before we end, I always give my guests the opportunity to share something we have not touched on that is still left there. There might be nothing, but maybe there is, and I want to give you the opportunity to share that with us. If not, that's fine.
Christ is risen.
Christ is risen. Okay. And with that last words, I would really want to thank you for your time, your effort, the braveness to be here, be part of the show. I'm really thankful for that. I hope you enjoyed your time here.
Lucas, I really enjoyed it, and I'm really grateful that I could do that. It was really fun. I was nervous at the beginning, but you are doing a great job.
Yeah, we were worried that it might be too short. I feel like it's maybe at least as long as all the others. This has been definitely a very different episode than what I'm used to. That's for sure. Which makes this so much more exciting, right? I love different conversations that I did not have before. So I'm grateful for that. This is a wrap. Thank you all for listening today. I hope you enjoyed it as well. I'm Lucas, and this was the Creative Cast.